Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you very much for tuning back in. If this is your first video, welcome. If not, take a look at all the others that I've done. This is like number... I've lost count. There's not that many. There's probably about 10. Today's video is going to be about something that I've been asked a lot to talk about, and I haven't really known what quite to do with the information, whether to do an Instagram live, whether to do a blog post, whether to just reply to people directly, and that is about awkward moments and embarrassing things that happen with IBD. Now, I like to be very open about stuff and, you know, get it all out there. Take one for the team. Get the wrath. And so I thought I'd create a video about my most embarrassing, uncomfortable, and just generally quite awkward moments that I've experienced with having IBD. For those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease 3 years ago and have been on steroids, immunosuppressants, but am now medication free and managing my Crohn's disease through diet and lifestyle, which is something that I talk about in other videos and on my Instagram. But for now, let's just stop. I could small talk for ages to try and put this off. Let's just go straight in, heads first, IBD and awkward moments. So number one, having an accident. Having an accident. I don't know if it makes it better or worse if I say it faster or slower. You will probably have an accident at some point during your life with Crohn's or colitis. And I don't just mean, have you had an accident at work? Cool, the Accident National Helpline. No. I mean, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. You shit yourself, alright? Don't want to say it. Most people don't like admitting that they've done that since they were about 4 years old. But guess what? If you've got a bowel disease, that is probably going to happen more than once. Yeah. Although I'm not going to say that this is natural, this is something that unfortunately may happen, especially if you're having a flare-up, you can't make it to the toilet, or there's someone in the toilet, or you're just caught off guard. If you've got a really bad stomach and you are having diarrhea up to 20 times a day, there will be a situation where something might just come out of your control. And that's kind of gross to admit that that will happen. Hell, I'm not asking you to admit it. That's why I'm doing it for you. The only thing I can really suggest is if that happens is one, I guess get to know your body a bit better. If you feel like you're very sensitive to having an accident and you've got not great control, go to the toilet even if you don't think you need it. If you're like, oh, that might be a bit of wind. No, go to the toilet because it's better to be safe than sorry. However, if that is just easier said than done, just pack a spare pair of underwear, no matter where you go. Like put in your bag, phone, wallet, pants. Just make it part of your routine. It's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but guess what? Shit happens, literally. And although it's embarrassing, the way to just get around it, just make sure that you are prepared for any situation. Especially maybe pack an extra set of tissues or wet wipes or baby wipes in your bag. If something happens that's embarrassing like that, yes, okay, it's really shit. But what is the best thing to deal with it is to how you then recover from that situation. So if you're able to kind of sort yourself out, doesn't matter, didn't happen, old pants in the bin, you're fine, you're laughing. And also, don't feel like you're alone, because guess what? Pretty much everyone has done it. Even a lot of my friends who don't have IBD had this conversation many times. Number two, making a smell in a toilet. Now, something that isn't spoken about very often, and although we can be very open with these conversations, is the fact that when you have a chronic bowel condition, like Crohn's or colitis, you'll be going to the toilet very frequently. And because food is just passing through your body, literally from mouth to bum, without digesting, doing all the kind of normal stuff that it would do in your intestine, it does not smell pleasant. And regardless of that, even if it's not that bad, you're still going to the toilet for a number two, which is something that can really draw attention to something that you might want to be a little bit discreet about. I can't give you a magic pill that will make your toilet activities smell like roses, but what you can do is invest in something like poo-pourri, which I love. I bought some for the office toilets at work, I have some in my bag. It's just something that you can carry around. They do little travel size ones, or they do kind of bigger, slightly more industrial size ones, I suppose. And it's just something to have on you so that if you need to go, you know that you can go and be discreet about it. I think that's the number one thing that is really difficult when you have IBD, is a lot of people still find toilet talk very taboo or unpleasant, or they don't like to talk about it, which is fine. And some people like to live in this world like, people don't go to the toilet. Fine, you're weird, but fine. And also, just because you have a chronic illness like Crohn's or colitis doesn't mean that you want to shout from the rooftops about it. You may I like to be very private and discreet in everything that goes on, especially your bodily functions. So carry something around with you like Poopery. I think Aesop do poo drops. There's loads and loads of brands out there now who do these kind of oil-based spray in the toilet, no smell comes out, magical cures. And you know what? Tried and tested, they're pretty good. I'm also so glad that I found stuff like that, because when I was first diagnosed with IBD, I was living in a house share or with my boyfriend, and there were always situations where I was using shared toilets. And so you'd go in and then someone would try and go in straight after you, and I couldn't handle that. Especially because most bathrooms in downstairs or in a lot of houses don't have windows. That is so annoying. I feel like that should be compulsory, but whatever. And so I remember reading way back in the day, I mean 3 years ago, that the smell of a blown out match just gets rid of all the other smells around it. So I used to go to the toilet in my boyfriend's house with a pack of matches every single time. Light the match, blow it out immediately. Probably quite dangerous, wouldn't recommend that, but that's what I had to do. Desperate times, desperate measures. Number 3, explaining to someone your symptoms. So often I have people who I tell that I do this blog about, or I tell them that I've got inflammatory bowel disease or Crohn's disease or whatever I fancy telling them, and they say, oh really, so what is that? And you can say in basic lament terms like, oh, it's like an inflammatory bowel disease, hoping that they'll get the hint. Some people just love to say, what are the symptoms? How do you deal with, like, what is almost like they want you to say, I shit all the time, Paula. Alright. And that can be quite awkward, especially if you're in a professional environment or you're speaking to someone who you don't know. I've had a conversation before where I've met somebody's parents for the first time and they have no idea what it is, and trying to explain to them over the dinner table what Crohn's disease entails and how it affects me. And that can be very embarrassing and very awkward and uncomfortable for everyone involved. I think we can kind of gather, given the fact that I post videos about this on the internet, I'm more than happy to talk about it, but what I'm more awkward about is how they will react. So it's good to just rehearse a different way of talking about your inflammatory bowel disease. For example, I'll often say, oh, I just have a really aggravated stomach. It means that I can't digest food properly. Or you could say something like, oh, it just means I go to the toilet a lot more than normal. And just let them devise that for what they mean. Anyone who really needs to know those facts and to understand those bodily functions so deeply will be someone who is probably a medical professional or a really close personal friend who can handle the honesty of the ins and outs of what's happening and your symptoms with Crohn's disease. For everyone else in the daily walk of life, rehearse a speech. Give them the most soft version of Crohn's or colitis that you can, because you know what? It will probably save both of you a lot of awkwardness. Number 4, and this is something that a lot of people wrote into me about, and that is having constant wind. That, I'll tell you, that can be uncomfortable, especially if you're not the kind like myself who's very open about that. I've got friends who find it hilarious to pass wind all the time. Either way, up or down, you know, and that's just not really my style. Never has been, probably never will be. And people said to me before, oh, so you're just not really open in your relationship and like your friendships, that you not feel comfortable in yourself. I feel perfectly comfortable, thank you very much. That's just something that for me, I don't know, I like to keep some things private. But with an inflammatory bowel disease, yeah, you'll be gassy, and that can be awkward, and it can be uncomfortable and embarrassing. I don't really have a tip. I don't really know how to deal with that, I'll be honest with you. I suppose there are a lot of foods that you can eat which will reduce that. For example, if you're eating loads of beans every day and food that is really high FODMAP that makes you bloat, I suppose you'll have a lot more gas and wind going around your body, which obviously has to just come out somewhere. But perhaps that's something that you should speak to your dietitian about or your hospital consultant about if it's becoming an issue for you. I don't know what they'll say, and perhaps they'll just say it's a perfectly natural bodily function, and so to let it go, let it go, let it go. You know, I don't know. I don't have really any advice for that tip. I just want to let you know that you're not alone. Should make a new band called Earth, Wind, Fire and Flare. Genius. And number 5 of my IBD and awkward moments is the hospital and doctor's appointments. The amount of times that I've had a doctor's fingers up my bum, I've lost count of. The amount of times that I've been told, pants off, knees up, I've lost count of. The amount of pairs of shorts with a flap on the bum, so it's just fully exposed for easy access. Don't know how many pairs of them I've been through. And the amount of times I've just literally had people having a look up there. I've also been, for some reason, the subject of of many training sessions for the doctors. So they say, do you mind if we've actually got some students learning about this, do you mind if they come in and observe? That was one of my first times that I had an enema when I had a bowel cancer screening pre my diagnosis, and that was, what are you meant to say? Obviously you could say no. I felt too uncomfortable, so I just said, yeah, sure, yeah, let him in. Completely naked from the waist down, knees up to my chin, lying on my side. About 4 or 5 people just having a good look up there. So embarrassing. But the one thing I can say about that is you do get used to it. And every time I talk about the fact that I've had this done, I think, oh God, mother have mercy. But it comes with the territory of having IBD and having frequent colonoscopies, enemas, routine checks. You will get used to it. It might not get any less awkward or uncomfortable or embarrassing for you. It's always weird, especially when it's with a new doctor each time. It's like, right, so gonna take a look if that's all right with you. We all know exactly what that means. Like, all right, fine. God, you could at least ask me out for dinner first, but jeez. But again, just know that you're not alone and that everyone else is going through something similar. And also that doctor probably doesn't like it any more than you are, but it's nothing new. Think how many bums he sees every single day. And you wonder why they specialise in that topic. But it's the human body, it's completely normal, it's completely natural. It's just part of the process, it's nothing weird. And they're not doing it to have a good look because they're just feeling nosy. They're doing it for your own health and your own benefit. So you just have to think, it's a few moments of feeling awkward and uncomfortable, but it will be over. The first couple are always weird, but I'm sure I have plenty more awkward moments and embarrassing stories that I could share with you. If I think of any more, I will probably post them on my Instagram channel, which is @gutinstinct.blog. If you have any stories that you'd like to share or the most awkward or embarrassing things you find with IBD, please do share them in the comments below. I think there's such a taboo still with having a bowel disease and with talking about anything to do with the toilet or with your stomach or digestion or the gut. And the only way to make things feel normal is by talking about them and admitting that we all go through the same thing. So if you feel up for it, I'd love to hear from you. Please write in the comment sections, follow me on Instagram, connect with one another, and just let everyone know that, yeah, you've gone through something that is so embarrassing that it's funny. And you know what? They all make for a funny story anyway. So thank you, IBD, for giving me my awkward moments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, and there'll be another video soon, whenever I'm next free. Thanks so much, lots of love.